Hey everyone, it's Dr. Gilmet here coming at you from my bunker with the lockdown of the coronavirus, COVID-19. And so I know a lot of people are wondering, maybe even like, what's the big deal right now, right? Like, why are we going through all of this? And so what I did was I went to the CDC coronavirus and website, and I actually went ahead and put in the date that they had starting in January the 12th. It looks like there were 2 cases that popped up on the 14th. And this is the onset of cases. And so over here I have a running total of what was going on. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of scroll down here. So you've got 10 cases on the 25th, you've got 20 cases on February 6th, you've got 40 cases on February 15th, and now it's kind of going up a little bit more. And so now you're getting 50, 60 new cases a day. Now you're up to 400. So by March the 1st, we were up to 600 cases with 113 new cases on that particular day. And so now we can see that we're up to over 1,000 cases, 300 new cases each day, and then we get to 4,000 cases. Now here's where it gets a little bit weird, right? So we had 302 new cases, 331 new cases, 275. This number is going down to 2. So it looks like from about the 12th on, it's possible that not all of the cases have been reported, right? Not all the states have been reported, and the CDC hasn't collected all the information. But here's what I did. I went ahead to 3/20, March 20th, with the most recent date of 4,038 cases that the CDC is reporting, okay? So that is the start point for this. So what I did was I was like, how long does it take to double, right? To go from 2 cases to 4 cases, it actually took 6 days. To go from 4 to 8, it was 5. To go from 8 to 16, it was 8 days. To go from 16 to 32 was 12 days. And to go from 32 to 64 was 5 days. After that, I figured, well, I don't want to go like 128, 256, 512. Like, that's going to get confusing. So basically, I just switched to something easy. 100 to 200, 4 days. 200 to 400, 4 days. 400 to 800, 5 days. And then I went to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000, 5 days. And then 2,000 to 4,000 is 9 days. Now, I'm going to come back to this 9 days because remember, we just got to 4,000 cases, and it seems like the last week of data is still coming in from the states. So this number is probably a little bit high because what you're noticing is it's basically 4 to 5 days. Even when it was doubling from 2 to 4 and 4 to 8, it's around that 5-day mark. So even though the average number of days is 6, the median number of days is 5. And so given this outlier of 12, given what other countries are experiencing, given our current trend, I feel like a median of 5 days is good, right? So what does that mean for the growth rate? Well, that means that every 5 days, it should double. So if at 14% growth, it would take you 6 days, a little more than 5 days, to hit double. So that's too small. If you go to 15, now you're hitting at 2.01 at 5 days, and you're a little over 4 at 10. So what I decided to do is make the growth rate 0.149 or 14.9%. You can see I'm about dead on double at 5 days, and you can see I'm about dead on double again at another 5 days. Now, I could have played with this a little bit more, but given that these are sort of rough estimates, I felt like this was probably okay. So see how this is all yellow? So what I did was I went back down over here, all right, to where we're currently at. And so now, given the 21 days, right, March 21st, 602 cases, basically what I did was I said, hey, look, let's take the 14.9%, right, and multiply it by the number above, the 4,038 that the CDC is currently using. And so what we would actually predict is not 90, 44, 21, or 2 cases. We'd actually be predicting about 602 cases on the 21st when all the CDC data is coming in. All right, and that's given this number minus this number. Okay, so this number represents new cases, and this number represents total number of cases. So why are we on lockdown? Okay, so you can see we get to 10,000 cases on the 27th. I'm expecting that in the next few days, as the CDC updates data, that's what we're going to be at. New York is way upped its testing, as have a lot of other states. You can see that on April the 1st, we're predicting about 21,000 total cases and about 2,700 new cases on April the 1st. So by the end of April, we would expect there to be about 150 to 180,000 new cases and about 1.2, 1.4 million people having been infected by the COVID-19. Okay, so if we just took the CDC data just like it is, right? We assume that there were literally only 2 new cases, right? We are bending down the curve. The growth through April is going to look like this, right? And you can see this is super flat, and then it comes up here. I don't know why that's there. It comes up here, and now we're all of a sudden at 1.4 million. And you can see it ramps up super quick. This is exponential growth. This is the problem that you have when you have a 14.9% increase every single day. In the beginning, it is small, and then it jumps a huge amount. Now, I was not super happy with this CDC data. So what I did was I went back in and I said, you know what? This is the last day that seems like a realistic amount of growth, all right, that we have all of the reported data in. So what I did was, instead of starting at 321, I actually started at 312. So I'm actually thinking that instead of, let's see, what happened on 312? On 312, instead of 275 cases, right, and then this going down, what we're looking at is 406 cases. So definitely more. And then by the time we get down to 321, it's not 2 cases, it's 1,400. Now, how does this change the curve, right? Well, as we go down to now April 1st, we're at 50,000 people that are infected, 6,500 new cases that day. Let's compare that to what we initially thought, 21. So it's basically double. It's double the number of cases. And now when we get down here to March the 1st, right, you've got 3.2 million people, about 2 million more people than predicted, and you have 420,000 new cases that day. This is this day. Okay? So if you're like, why are we sheltering in place? Why are we locking everything down? Why is the CDC and the federal government telling us to stay at home? Because from some of the podcasts that I've listened to, some infectious diseases experts, some people who know, we got to have about 100,000 ICU beds available in the entire United States. It is possible that we could have 100,000 new cases, 100,000 new cases on April the 21st if we don't bend down the curve, right? And the problem is that if we're not bending down the curve and we continue forward, this just gets worse. You could see that by June, it could be a lot more. So this is why we're sheltering in place. So here's the growth, right? It's up to 3.4 million. And again, it's relatively flat, and then it just explodes. And this is what exponential growth looks like. And this is how you can kind of track it. All right. So hopefully this gave you information as to why people are locking down. hopefully this gives you an idea of what could be expected as it goes forward. Now, these are mathematical predictions. It is possible that the sheltering in place, the locking the country down, has bent down the curve, and we're going to have a more linear growth, and we flatten the curve. And so I would definitely recommend looking at the Washington Post simulation that they did. But if this gave you an idea of what exponential growth looks like, if this helped you understand why we're locking down and what the COVID-19 virus could look like in the United States in the coming 3 to 6 weeks, then that makes me happy. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing more stuff as I'm working from home for the next month.